This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Hey, everybody. My guest today is the fabulous, awesome, amazing Laurie Guest, CSP. How are you, my friend?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me.
So you are an expert in many things, but primarily I want to start with customer service and customer experience. And you have a very unique take on this. Tell us about, what is customer service? Kind of how do you look at it from end to end? What's the whole customer service thing? And why do we need to be, worried about that and concerned about that in our businesses?
Sure. Well, my background was in healthcare, and the place where I worked was regionally known as the place to go for eye surgery. So I started out as where I had expertise. And the reason or how I became a speaker is we were so known for our fabulous customer service that a bank called and asked if I would come in and teach our secrets. So I went and got permission from my boss to put together what are I called it the red carpet secrets. What were the secrets to rolling out the red carpet? And I was young and didn't know what was out there that would be new and different. And so I just packaged our secrets together and started sharing them with different industries. And I was shocked to find out the things that we did that I think are pretty simple, almost like customer service 101. And I would see people in the audience, their pens are going. And that's always my mark of, are we making a difference? When steam's coming out of the pens, and they could be playing hangman for all I know. But when the steam's coming out of the pens, okay, I'm telling them something that must not be 101 for them, which I think is really important in our fields is just because you know it doesn't mean that everybody else knows it. So I think that that's a really big piece to it. So anyway, that's how I became the word expert. Always I kind of go, ooh, just a little bit, because who says you're an expert? But I get paid to tell other people how to do it. So I guess that makes me an expert, right, David?
Exactly. Well, and the flip side of that is, well, gosh, if I'm getting all this money, shouldn't I better be an expert? Aren't they expecting an expert? I might not resonate with that label, but I think that's why they're paying me all this money.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it is. So I've tried to adjust to accepting the term.
Now, you have something really new and really exciting that people have to know about called guest encounters.
Right.
And tell us about how that came to be. And that is a fabulous online thing, but it has its basis in some of your speaking and some of your consulting work and some of your secret shopping. Tell us how that came to be.
Sure. Well, it has a really interesting backstory. It was a fluke is the short answer. So quite a few years ago, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, there was a group of business owners. There's about 50 going to be in attendance that asked me to come in and talk about customer service. And they were very locally based to my home, all of them within 30 miles. And I was already picturing, I looked at the attendee list and I knew a lot of them. And David, I already had this image in my head. You can picture this. People going, tell me something I don't know. Bring it. And I was just picturing this body language of pushback. Now, they didn't do that, but that's what my head said they were going to do. So I thought, what could I do? And I'll be blunt here. What could I do to shut them up before I ever speak? And I thought, you know what? Why don't I go and shop them? Pretend to be whatever patient, customer, patron, whatever it is, I'll pretend to be that. And then I can give a full report on what happened when I shopped them. And so I decided to do that. And I was shocked at what I found out.
That would make the room real quiet, real fast.
It does. And so this is the first lesson I learned. I went loaded and I started out and I did about 10 minutes of customer service 101. And when they started to get that look on their face, I just stopped. And I went, I'm going to hold up a second. You guys kind of all have a look on your face like you already know this. Now, these are leaders, owners, managers, all top end. People have the ability to hire me, our favorite kind of audience, right? And they're kind of nodding like, yeah, we know this. And I go, well, that's great because I've been in all your businesses in the last week and I'm going to tell you today who rocked it and who didn't. And the guy in the front row goes, oh, crap, like this, So it was really funny and everybody started laughing. Of course, when we use humor, we sell better. But I learned that you only praise in public and you criticize in private.
So this website here, this is awful. This is exactly what not to do. All you 300 people.
Yes, exactly. So I learned in the very first session, and fortunately I had figured that out before I went. So I chose to unroll a gold, silver, and bronze award to the 3 groups that did it best and why, tossed out a couple honorable mentions. But here's the most interesting part. Oh, and then I gave confidential sealed envelopes with your personal report inside. So if you didn't get a great secret shop report, at least the world didn't know about it. I thought, and this probably won't surprise you, but it surprised me. I thought that the people who scored low would want to hire me. And the people who wanted to hire me were the ones that won the awards because they wanted to hear more compliments. They wanted their team to hear the compliments. So it didn't take me long to realize that those who do it well want to keep learning how to do it even better. Isn't that interesting?
It absolutely is. And, I talk about this a lot when it comes to marketing is that it's the best who are always committed to getting better. You'd think it's the bottom feeders. It's the people who have the most room for improvement. It's, they'll hire me. I can move the needle for them like crazy. They don't get it. They don't get it. They don't want it. They don't care. It's really the alpha dogs that get the coaching, that get the help, that hire the consultants and the speakers.
It is so true. And I think all of your listeners who are listening to this right now need to be thinking about that, is that we spend so much time looking at, I'll call it the 40%, as you call them, kind of bottom feeders. We spend a lot of time trying to attract them, where I started to shift and say, okay, these gold, silver, bronze, what more could I be doing for them and thinking ahead to that? So my next aha moment, for 10 years, I did that sporadically when it was the right group to do it for. I travel nationwide, so not all the time can you go enough in advance to secret shop in person. So I wasn't doing the in-person shopping all the time, but I certainly could do by phone shopping from anywhere. And I could do online shopping. How do I interact and encounter with their website? Well, my next aha moment happened about 3 years ago. I noticed that I was giving people, I always think in terms of medical terms, I was doing the examination, the diagnosis, and the recommended treatment plan, but I wasn't ever giving them medicine. So if I would go back to a bank later and let's say they were terrible at transitions, moving a customer from teller window to loan officer's desk, they didn't have the techniques to properly sell, I would tell them, here's what you need to work on. And then I'd check back and they still weren't doing it. So I knew I needed to sell them the medicine, but I didn't want to be a trainer. And I definitely didn't want to hire a stable of trainers for a lot of reasons I won't bore you with, but I knew they needed my training. And a lot of our colleagues, as you're well aware of, were moving to this online learning platform. And I wasn't sure if I would enjoy that or not, but I did know that if I could take everything I know, dump it onto a platform so that you could pay to go and access it as you need it on the specific areas you need, it would be popular. So I invented guest encounters, and I love the word guest. Not only is it the name I married into, it is my last name, but it's a universal word for customer. So in my opening video, I say, whether you call your end user a customer, a client, a patient, or a patron, around here we call them all guests. And an encounter is any time that you are engaging with your customer. Again, online, by phone, in person, collecting a bill, those are all encounters. And so once I got that snapped in place, I started realizing we can do some fun stuff with this. And so I'm really excited. We're just in the finishing touches of this, but we already have a waiting list of customers saying, let me know when I can get on this platform. So I am very excited about it.
People are lining up around the block to buy this thing.
Makes the bar a little high, makes me nervous, but I know we have good content. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, and you're also operationalizing one of my favorite strategies, which I wrote a blog post a couple of years ago, and I've really embraced this, called Why Your Business Needs to Flop. And FLOP is an acronym for feature and leverage other people.
Yes.
So Guest Encounters is not just the Laurie Guest show. Tell us about how you're baking in other experts.
Yes. And well, I learned some of that from you, David. So I got to give credit where credit is due. So we really believe in the National Speakers Association, which is how you and I know each other. I totally believe there is enough pie for everybody. There's 1.5 million meetings they tell us worldwide daily. There's enough work to do. And if we hold on to our leads and hold on to our clients so tight, we're not doing them any favors. So what I realized is that although I have an opinion on everything related to customer service, it doesn't mean that I could possibly have the depth on every topic. So let's take marketing as an example. I know a little bit about marketing. I have a little bit to say about marketing, but nowhere near the depth that a David Newman of the world has. So at this point, the platform has 60 segments on it, and each segment is very short. So my part is going to be under 15 minutes of content, resource documents, anything I can give you on a slice of a topic. But Each segment also has a vetted expert where I introduce you to whoever I've determined and vetted out, knows what they're talking about, to share a deep dive into that particular topic, and then opens up what I like to call a rabbit hole, opens up this whole wonderland of look at what all he has or all she has. So like when you're on this, which of course you are, it's like, look at this stuff. He's got these articles, he's got these webinars, he's got group coaching. And I just feel like the best thing we can do for our clients is expose them to people that we know can do a good job for them. And I haven't found anybody in our field who's doing it exactly the flop way that we're talking about. Maybe they're doing something like it, but nothing's exactly like this. So I get jazzed when something's new and different.
Oh, very much so. Well, and I think it's also fun. I mean, even like what we're doing now with this interview, right? Just collaboration and conversation. People don't like listening to lecture, but they love listening to conversation. They love being a fly on the wall. They're like, hey, can I like hang out and like have dinner with you? It's like, well, you can't really hang out and have dinner with me unless you want to fly to Chicago in your case, or fly to Philadelphia in my case. But this is kind of like you and me having dinner or coffee or lunch. And it's like, well, what are they talking about? And how can I learn from that?
And I've loved the interviews. My interviews on my platform look exactly like this. I use the same platform you're using now. And although the person I'm interviewing knows in general what I'm going to ask, we would derail. You know, I've done several of them where it just led to such an interesting conversation. I'll be like, oh my goodness, a half hour has passed and I didn't even ask you the questions I planned on. So I think you've described that perfectly, as that fly on the wall and what are other people talking about. So I'm really hoping the listeners will enjoy it. The best part is I see it like a Netflix of customer service. You can binge watch it, or you can say, you know, I only want to learn about onboarding. That's all I want to learn about. You click on it, and I'm going to take you deep, deep, deep into that topic, even though I may only have 3 minutes worth of stuff to say about it. And so I love the idea of leveraging our peers. And I just think it's a fantastic thing. We should all be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to zoom out and ask you kind of a big picture, because the customer service, I don't think we ever talked about this, but customer service, specifically horrendous customer service, is one of the main reasons that I started my speaking business. Now, I never even started out as a customer service speaker, but about 3-4 years before I left my corporate job, I had this horrendous customer service experience. And, you know, I called the store manager and I wrote about it. I made a PowerPoint and I was like, what's wrong with customer service in this country? And this was 1998 and I started my business in 2002. But it's one of the things that I said, I have something to rant about. I have something to teach and preach and my forehead's going to pop up. Where do you think the quality and the caliber of customer service has been over the last, let's say, 15 years? Some would say it's better than ever, and some would say it's worse than ever. So because you're on the front lines of this and you're teaching and speaking on this all the time, where are we on this, and will it ever get better?
Well, I personally find, especially keep in mind, I'm secret shopping on a regular basis, pretending to be an end user. So I feel that I'm really on the front lines of seeing what's out there. And I think the answer is it depends on the training in the organization. So in general, I think it's declining, because I think people's communication skills have gotten blunter, possibly ruder. I don't think that we are necessarily taught how to roll the carpet out, but then you can pick certain industries like the Ritz-Carltons of the world that they have dumped millions of dollars, I'm guessing, into keeping their people up to this level that's become an expectation. Or you look at, I mean, some of the frequent places people quote, Southwest Airlines, So my answer is it depends. There's some places that have really become the icons that we all use as an example. And then I can take you over to my local McDonald's today and show you how bad service can really look. And so, it depends.
And it's almost like customer service, it's now in the public, right? Because if people are getting terrible customer service, they're going to go on Facebook. Yeah. They're going to go on Yelp. They're going to tweet about it. They're going to get angry. And they're going to get angry not just on a phone call or with an email. They're going to get angry in front of hundreds or thousands of potential clients and customers and prospects of that. They're going to make videos. They're going to write songs about how terrible your company is.
You bet. I was at a speech last week. It was in front of several hundred people. And the man who spoke in front of me, a colleague of mine, cracked a joke that I thought was absolutely hysterical, a unique joke. And he's given me permission to steal it. So I'm going to. He said that he's got the answer to the drug problem in our country. If we legalized drugs, but then made Comcast in charge of the distribution of information, we would have it solved. And the whole place just roared. And I said to him later, did you make that joke up? And he goes, yeah. He goes, have you ever tried to call them? And so he goes through this, as you said, a whole rant. Well, he actually said the company name out loud in front of all these people.
I love it.
Pretty bad PR, right? Now I'm going to take that joke and I'm going to be telling it for the next 2 years and as however big an audience as I can, and so I think it's right. I think they take it out there and we need to keep that in mind as authors, experts, consultants, and speakers. Hey, people are walking billboards. And the way you treat people from the first encounter, from the time they call you until the time you've invoiced them, they're walking billboards to how we treated them. And I've got all kinds of interesting stories of what meeting planners have said to me about different speakers that you go, wow, what was she thinking? And I think we can learn from that.
Absolutely right. Well, it's funny. So I'm here outside suburban Philadelphia. I'm in the heart of Comcast country, and it's true. So I wrote in the Do It Marketing book, there's a segment I have in there about, junk mail. And I said, you're going to go to your front door and you're going to get junk mail. You're going to get the electric bill. You're going to get probably some magazine subscriptions, and you're going to get the latest offer from Comcast or whatever cable Satan operates in your neighborhood. So at least I made it more democratic that there's cable company Satanism. It's not just Comcast, it's all of them.
And if all of a sudden in the middle of this interview, your whole cable network goes out.
I'm with Verizon. I love my phone company. I love my phone company.
There you go.
You can't get me anymore.
But on the same topic here, one of the things you told me we might talk about a little bit is mistakes that I see. And there's one that I just heard last week that I thought would be so valuable to toss out. And it fits in right now, so I'm going to toss it in. I'm talking to a meeting planner on the phone, and one of the questions I always ask is, are you considering any other speakers in addition to me? I think that's a good question for us to ask because based on what they say, that gives you a little more insight. So I asked the question, and she goes, actually, it's between you and one other speaker, but we're a little disgusted with her. And so I went one step further and I said, would you be willing to share why? And she goes, well, it's so-and-so. So she identified her, and she goes, it's so-and-so. And she had her handler call us. And the handler said, I'm just calling to get some information so we can determine if you are a good match for her before she takes the time out of her busy day to talk to you. Now, I'm guessing that the speaker has no idea that her handler is saying that. So let's pretend for a moment, this is fun. You're my handler. You work for me. Let's picture that for a second.
I love it.
Yeah, isn't it great? We get along great. And I say privately, okay, David, call these people, see if it's even worth my time to talk to them. And if it looks good, then I'm happy to get on the phone. And you and I both know when I get on the phone, I'm going to show time and be delightful and deliver that customer service. I can picture that happening in many of our offices. Doesn't mean we're not professional. It means we've let our guard down. Now, if that assistant or handler, whatever she is, isn't trained correctly to put on her customer service hat, and she actually says the words from inside the family, then this meeting planner is going, yeah, we don't need to give her the time of day. She goes, you called us back right away personally. That right there is probably going to get you the job. And that's a quote. That came straight from her. And I thought, now, isn't that a shame that quality-wise, maybe that speaker would have been a better speaker than me. I don't know. But let's assume we were equal. She didn't lose the job because she's not a good enough speaker. She lost the job because her team didn't understand customer service, which starts from the moment the phone rings.
Right. And there's a way to do that with deference and kindness and professionalism, and actually to make that meeting planner feel more special as opposed to less special.
Absolutely. So I think the point there is for anybody listening is that you may think your team is doing a good job, but my years of secret shopping tell me that when you are not in the same square footage as your team, they may not handle your customers the way you think they are, because of the amazing things that we have been told along the line where I'm like, man, I wish I'd really been writing this stuff down. I have a bestseller on my hands if I'd had 15 years of recording these stories, which I didn't think to do. But if I had, you wouldn't even believe me. It is so amazing, the foolish things that get said. But if you're sitting there, I don't think your team behaves the same way because they know you can hear it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great point. So just as we're wrapping it up here, I got two final questions for you. The first one is, what do you think is the biggest customer service challenge going forward for any company, whether it's a Comcast, a big Fortune 100 company, or whether it's folks like you and me, like the story you just shared about this, solo speaker who had someone on their team kind of blow up a possibly good relationship. Yeah. What's the biggest challenge going forward for all of us when it comes to doing a better job with customer service?
I think hands down our biggest challenge is handling the inflow of requests with less labor than you might be used to. So, I think back to my old place, we might have had 7 people taking your phone calls, and we had time to give you that red carpet service. I've been gone for 20 years from that organization, but I can only guess that if I zap myself there right now, they're getting by on 3 people, but the phone isn't ringing any less. So now I don't have the time. And that's what I'm hearing from people in my audiences. We understand intellectually what you're saying about great service, but that takes time, patience, energy. And we just don't have it. We're lucky to keep the phone, ringing and getting it answered. So I think that's the short answer. And for people who might be, I'm a one-person show for the most part, it's keeping up and knowing where to spend your time, where to put your focus. And I think all of us as entrepreneurs need to really be thinking about that. My time is much better spent an extra 10 minutes on the phone with that caller than spending 10 minutes on social media for me.
Right.
The Twitter, the Facebook, the LinkedIn. Some people, that's what they're all about. For me, I'm very focused on that's not where I'm going to make my dollars. My dollars is continuing this fantastic quick response, giving you what you need, etc.
Yeah, love it. So if people want more Laurie Guest, where do they go? What resources can they get? How can they stay connected to you, my friend?
Well, we have 2 different divisions. So the one that is all about keynoting and humorous, motivational stuff is called solutionsarebrewing.com. And if somebody is interested in the guest encounters, that's pretty easy, guestencounters.com. They are 2 different looks, 2 different brands. And that's a strategy we could talk about on another day.
I love it. All right, Laurie Guest, CSP, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, David.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.